that we would change our mindset and say, I'm going to be involved. I want to be involved. I want to be a part of the catalyst that changes the city of Shreveport.
Hello, how you doing today, Miss Hart?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing great. I am doing great.
Yes, my name is Ora Hart. Um, I live in Cedar Grove Neighborhood Associate in Cedar Grove, but I am a resident of Shreveport. Um, I left Shreveport when I was 24. I moved back to Shreveport at 59. So most of my growing up years were done in Portland, Oregon. I would come home periodically, so I never lost my friends. I never lost the connection to home. Yes, well, of course, when I left my parents, I left my siblings. Uh, I grew up in a large family. My parents had 9 children. Um, my father and mother were active people. My father was very active in church. So we grew up with a strong spiritual base. Um, my mother was active in the community and civic work, and the the whole issue of just being a part of Shreveport. The strange thing about it was at 24, we don't know as much as we think we know. And when I left Shreveport and I moved to Portland, Oregon, when I got to Portland, I thought, hmm, this is no bigger than Shreveport. And it was quite a bit like Shreveport because it was not a major metropolitan city. I thought it was pretty country. Um, I thought um, there was just so much comparison for me in my mind. It was a beautiful city. That was the difference. I thought Portland was just the most gorgeous city, and I always had wanted to live somewhere where I could go to the beach and we can do this and that. And we didn't have that in Shreveport. It might have been here, but in 1965, there was the separation. You can't this and you can't go here and you can't do that. So moving to Portland, certainly we thought it was going to be totally different because we were moving out of the South. But um, there's so much to know that we don't know about what we think things are like. So we raised our children there. Here, I had one sister that never left Shreveport. Everybody else went someplace else. My brother went to Washington, D.C. My brother was actually the first NDCC instructor at Booker T. Washington. His name was Lieutenant Paul Collins. So um, and by the time I left, he had already left because, of course, you can do a job and you can do a job well, and then you can do a job too well. So that was kind of the issue with my brother Paul. Um, But there are many, many young men who were were um, were blessed by him being the person that he was. And I've had men to tell me I wouldn't be the man that I am now if it hadn't been for your brother. I wouldn't have been able to survive if it hadn't been for your brother. So that's who I am. And I came back here in 1999, and my thought always was, what can I do? I would come back to visit, but when I moved back, I knew I was not moving back to be entertained as I was when I would come for vacation, because that's what it was about. But when I moved back, I had been a real estate broker in Portland, Oregon for quite some years. And I thought, well, things are getting ready to change in Shreveport, and I'd be right there. Well, I've been here for 20 years and things have not changed. They've just gotten worse over the time. So um, I joined the neighborhood association. I have a sister and her name is Sarah. And so she says I just drag her around. But I think that a part of everything that we see, everything that we hope for, is only going to happen if we become involved. So my thing was, is people were just not involved enough. They were just not working hard enough, and they just let too many things happen. But the scripture says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So I believe that, and that's how I try to live my life. That I believe that we need to know, we need to work, and that's the only way things are going to be what we want them to be, how we want them to be. That's who I am. A fond memory of Shreveport in the past. Booker T. Washington High School. That was a fun memory for me. And I know now that it was a fun memory because now I see it looking back. I still have friends at 80 years old. I still have people that I call my girlfriends because they were my classmates in high school. I still have friends that I call my friends because we went to elementary school together. And so I can still call these girls and I can say, was just thinking about you. What are you doing? What's going on with you? How are the kids? Fond memory was for me was going to Booker T. Washington High School. Central Colored High School was our middle school. The leaving my community and either riding the school bus or getting on the trolley, going to school and meeting people and having friends. Meeting people and having friends. And when I look at the separation now, our children are bused here and bused there. My children, the same thing in Portland, Oregon. And they don't have that camaraderie that comes with community schools. And community not meaning geography, but meaning the people, the community of people living and working together for a common good and caring about each other I mean, I love my friends. I love my friends. And our children, well, anyway, that's not what you asked me, but that was my fond memory. Just going to Booker T. Washington and then continuing, because every few years, once we started having class reunions, I mean, they just continued. They just continued. And as soon as this pandemic lets us up, we're going to have another one. We're going to have another one. And when I talk to my classmates, they say, oh, well, how's Jackie? Or I can say, oh, well, how's Bobby? Or how's asking about their children. That was my fond memory, was living in Shreveport and going to Booker T. Washington High School. Going to Booker T. Washington High School, not feeling like a tack on or add on, or Booker T. Washington High School was like our communities, it was ours. Not to the devaluing of anybody else, but the valuing of ourselves. That's my fond memory of Shreveport. My opinion in Shreveport is in the present. I'm sad to say that this is 2021. And sadly, Shreveport is still divided down racial lines. We don't say it, but it's obvious. It's obvious to me when I go to council meeting. It's obvious to me when I talk to people. And that is the devaluing of Shreveport as a great metropolitan. Growing up, nobody could have ever told me that Bossier City would be a greater city than Shreveport. If you lived in Bossier, nobody wanted to say they lived in Bossier. If they went someplace, they say, I live in Shreveport. Girl, you don't live in Shreveport, you live in Bossier. But now, how'd that happen? How did the people of Shreveport allow that to happen? What is it about Shreveport that we're so divided that nobody can get up? Nobody can get up. And it's not going to really happen until Shreveport sees itself as a metropolitan city, and that it sees the pitfalls of Shreveport. And what we need to do collectively to make things happen. I mean, if we have to take a road trip to go someplace else to see if anybody else is doing anything, I mean, what is it that we need to do to change just the mindset that would cause us to see ourselves not running away from Shreveport? Oh, I'm going to Dallas, I'm going to Atlanta, I'm going to But if you take you with you and you don't take any value with you, my mother told me as a girl, wherever you go, Ora, it should become a better place because you were there. And I think that as Shreveportians, we have to look at the desolation of this city and understand that if we are the majority, then we have to have some thoughts and some ideas about what a great city should look like. What a great city should look like. And we should do everything that we can to become a part of a great city. And we know it will become a great city because we are willing to put the time and the energy, the thoughts, everything we need to do to make Shreveport a great city of the South. My desire for Shreveport in the future is that we actually would take the thought of becoming a clean city. The one thing that I loved about living in Portland, Oregon, is that it was a clean city. Now, I don't know about now. They tell me don't come, it's not going to be the same. But if we can take the view of just garbage, that we would understand that there has to be some reprogramming to help people to understand what being a clean city really is, or where it really is about. So look at what it would take to help people to have to look at how they deal with what they throw away. The city would have to deal with how they allow the citizens to dispose of waste and garbage. That we would say, we want a bottle bill, making people responsible who get the money from a city and don't put nothing back. Looking at how everything becomes waste, and we have no way to say to the people that you can't just leave these dilapidated buildings, walk away from them because you've gotten all of the tax benefits, and now you leave the burden on the city. That would be my thought, my desire for Shreveport, that as citizens, we would start to think about what we want our city to look like. What do we want our city to look like? I don't want somebody moving their tenants out and leaving all of that garbage, all of the waste stacked up on the street, across the street from me or you or anybody else for weeks. What would happen if the citizens of Shreveport would say, We want to have a clean city. You got to clean the city up before it can become beautiful. And it's up to us, as residents of Shreveport, Louisiana, to go to our council, to go to our mayor, to go to the people in charge and say, no, this is not the city that we want. That is my hope for the future of Shreveport, that we would change our mindset and say, I'm going to be involved. I want to be involved. I want to be a part of the catalyst that changes the city of Shreveport.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on with us today. And we will definitely talk in the future.
Praise the Lord. Thank you very much.